Of all the media industries, television may be the least changed by the internet revolution. Most of us still watch the same way we did 20 years ago. One company that promised to change all that was Aereo, but the Supreme Court pulled the plug this week with a ruling that some worry will set back innovation for years to come. Aereo had lofty aspirations.
Live broadcast TV, off the air, wherever you are, whenever you want.
The upstart streaming service promised to unshackle TV content from the television by using small antennas to capture over-the-air programming, sending it back to customers online. But network executives cried foul.
They're taking our content, they're selling it, they're charging people for it, they're making money on it, and we're not.
Aereo argued it was legal because it essentially rented antennas for an individual's private use.
A person watching over-the-air broadcast television in his or her home is engaging in a private performance and not a public performance that would implicate the Copyright Act.
The Supreme Court disagreed, ruling that Aereo is essentially retransmitting copyrighted material to the public without permission. But to call it a public performance, Justice Antonin Scalia wrote in his dissent, will sow confusion for years to come. There was a lot of parsing of the language in that, Kara. I mean, what do you think? Is this going to put a damper on innovative stuff?
I think it will, but I think this is, keeping one horse in the barn when a whole bunch of other ones have been let out. People are going to watch things in other ways than on television. It's already starting to happen in terms of watching things on your phone and watching things on tablets. And we're just seeing a proliferation of ways you're going to get television. We just saw Netflix make a deal with Chelsea Handler, who has a daily show. Okay, well, up until now, Netflix has been making a splash by saying, we're also going to not just retransmit content, we're going to provide content like House of Cards. Now they're getting into the role of, we may create daily content. Well, if they create daily content and stream it, then what's the difference between watching the next day The Daily Show on your computer and watching Chelsea Handler streaming on your computer? Les Moonves of CBS may have won this one and Barry Diller lost this one, but I think when history is written in 50 years, Barry Diller won. He was just too early.
The discussion in television for the last decade has been, when is what happened to newspapers, when is what's happened to book publishing going to happen to television? And the interweaving networks of connections between cable operators and the networks and the production houses that produce the content are so woven so tightly and make so much money for everybody that it's been really difficult to unravel that to the benefit of the incumbent players there. I do think that this ruling was worded in such a way that it was meant to be narrowly applied to Aereo, that you could tell that the justices were not trying to issue a blanket statement that we're not going to allow anything in this sort of space. But at a certain level, there's the core contradiction. I actually thought Aereo's legal arguments were pretty strong. If you're giving away your content over the airwaves for free, why does someone else have to pay for that when they have a really long wire between the antenna and your iPad or wherever you're watching it? I do think that we are going to see further disruption of these traditional models. It's just, is it going to be in 6 months, or is it going to be in 6 years or longer? And big players are going to get into Apple, Google. It's not just going to be CBS and ABC that have this market forever.
Well, but Google and Apple will have to begin to create their own content, as Netflix has, and nothing wrong with that. And in fact, that could be fresh and new. But for folks who want to see the stuff that's on broadcast, somewhere somebody today, this is my prediction, is trying to make a deal with Aereo, one of those networks, because somebody woke up and said, this is the future. Let's get in bed with them, and let's figure out how everybody's happy, because it doesn't make any sense. Because as mad as I am about cable, and I'm not the only one, I'm trying to figure out how to get away from broadcast. That's not what they want. So this, to me, is, I'm happy to see that they protected the cloud services, as you referred to, though I've heard several attorneys say the way they worded it, you could still use it to, beat something back if you're a cloud-based service. So that's going to be messy.
You know what? I have no sympathy for Aereo.
Really?
They are doing exactly what a cable company does or a satellite company does. They came up with this idea of all these little individual antennas so that they could say, well, this is a private performance. But essentially, they're doing the same thing. And if cable companies and satellite companies have to pay retransmission rights, I don't see why Aereo shouldn't have to pay retransmission rights. I don't think there are any good guys in this. I mean, Barry Diller versus Les Moonves. I mean, can we have two losing parties here? But I think the Supreme Court got it right.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if they started charging
fees, it would be as costly as cable, to your point, which is ridiculous, and cable fees are.
But it's the same thing.
Yeah, it is.
Well, we'll see.